Yo, what's going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back in to the Fantasy Headliners. Your boy's back after being on the IR for a few days. Listen, it is always a risky venture when you decide to manscape on your wife's side of the double sink. One moment, you're feeling fresh and clean, waiting for that summer breeze to just rise up your shorts. And the next minute, you're getting a hot curling iron to the face. I don't recommend it, gentlemen. If you're out there, stay on your side of the sink. But listen, your boy's back and better than ever. And in this video of the Fantasy Headliners, I have got some Dynasty buy low candidates. Now, we get questions all the time. Can you do some Dynasty specific content? Well, the large majority of the conversation here is going to focus on Dynasty leagues, but that doesn't mean that you still shouldn't watch, because there's going to be some good tidbits in here for you to pick up. Don't forget, you can pre-order your Fantasy Headliners Fantasy Football Draft Guide for the 2021 season. There's a link down below. Go down there and hit it up. Go over, pre-order at thefantasyheadliners.com so you will be ready to roll right when it drops in July. But without further ado, let's jump into some of these Dynasty buy low candidates. And these are all guys that right now, for one reason or another, their value might not be that high. But one technique that will consistently help Dynasty owners win their championships is adjusting their belief on values from year-to-year basis and taking advantage of those guys whose values have seemingly plummeted. One of the reasons that happens this time of the year is because the incoming rookie draft, they are the hot topic right now. The younger guys that just came into the league, maybe this year or last year, are kind of the focus of attention this time of the year. There's some guys that have been in the league a little bit longer that maybe they're being forgotten about for one reason or another. And that's this guy right now, Mr. Traequan Smith from the New Orleans Saints. Now, a lot of his value this year is 100% going to be around whether or not Jameis Winston is the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Listen, nothing good is going to come from Taysom Hill being the starting quarterback, except for those of you in Superflex leagues that decide to grab Taysom Hill as your quarterback too, and you get some weekly, maybe rushing upside from him. But over the course of a full 16 games, I don't foresee Taysom Hill being a impact guy, a guy that is going to consistently push the ball down the field and give his receivers like Traequan Smith the opportunity to win. And Traequan Smith really wasn't replaced. He's the incumbent wide receiver 2 on this team heading into 2021, and he's still extremely young. I mean, the guy is still just 25 years of age. So he is not old by any means in football standards, and he's going into his 4th year. But listen, last year, or all 3 years that he's been in the league, he's had a yards per target of 9+ yards. Okay, pretty decent down the field. All 3 years he's been in the league, he's had a 13 yards per reception average or higher. So again, Traequan Smith does a pretty decent job of working down the field. You all know who else does a pretty decent job of working down the field? Mr. Jameis Winston, all right? For those that, as an actual real life NFL quarterback, all right, he might not be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Obviously, he makes a whole lot of bad decisions for fantasy football purposes. He's going to throw a lot of interceptions. It's going to cause a lot of negative points. But if you own the receivers in the offense with him, you know that Jameis Winston is going to air it out, and he's going to throw the ball a ton, and he's going to go down the field. Boom. This is where Traequan Smith comes in. Jameis Winston, as a starter in 2019, had 99 deep attempts. That's first in the league. He had 40 deep completions. Guess what? Also first in the league. Let's go for the trifecta. 1,351 deep yards. Also first in the league. And again, a deep pass is considered a ball that travels more than 20 yards down the field. So last year, Traequan Smith, career high in targets, receptions, and yards. He's ready to take that next step forward. And if he does that, he is going to be the deep threat for this team in 2021. And you know who that's going to help out? It's going to help out Michael Thomas. It's going to help out Alvin Kamara. It's going to help out Troutman at tight end. It's going to certainly help fantasy owners who decide to get them a little Traequan Smith. And right now, his ECR in Dynasty leagues is wide receiver 88. You can literally get Traequan Smith for absolutely nothing. At the running back position, a guy that was, a pretty hot draft pick for fantasy owners to handcuff Ezekiel Elliott the last couple of years, it's Tony Pollard. Right now, he's coming in as the running back 38. Now, why do you want to go out and get Tony Pollard? Now, he hasn't done a whole lot of anything, okay? He doesn't have a ton of great stats to back this up. He doesn't have a ton of amazing tape where we look at Tony Pollard and we say, oh man, look at this guy go. Now, he does have some explosiveness to his game. Over the last couple of years, he hasn't looked too bad. I mean, his rookie year, he averaged 5.3 yards per attempt. The last year, it dropped considerably down to 4.3 yards per attempt. But also keep in mind, last year, that offensive line wasn't as good. They lost Dak Prescott, okay? Last year, also had 40 targets in the passing game. So he took a step forward in the passing game as well. But why are we buying Tony Pollard in Dynasty leagues? It's not because of the stats, and it's not because, we want him to back up Zeke Elliott. A lot is made of the contract situations in Dallas right now, correct? A lot is made of, hey, they have paid paid a few guys a lot of money. Some of these contracts aren't very good, one of which is Ezekiel Elliott. But if you look at the fine print of the contract, after the 2022 season, the Dallas Cowboys have an out. In dead cap, it's going to cost them $6.7 million. That is a little tiny insignificant number compared to the $59.6 million that Ezekiel Elliott will be owed after the 2022 season until the end of his contract. So, if the Dallas Cowboys are starving for money, and if they need to free up space, which, let's face it, they're probably going to have to, especially if they don't get out from underneath the Amari Cooper contract and they decide to hold on to him, you're going to have to pay CeeDee Lamb in the next couple of years. Do you end up paying Michael Gallup as well? You've already paid Dak Prescott over the next couple of years. You're going to have to pay some defensive guys probably. If you need to free up that money, you get out from underneath Zeke Elliott for only $6.7 million. Tony Pollard becomes the starting running back probably for the Dallas Cowboys. So we're shopping in advance for Tony Pollard. Let's go get him this offseason, because next offseason, that is when that talk will heat up. Oh, if Zeke Elliott doesn't deliver, is he going to be cut after the season? If Zeke Elliott doesn't hit these numbers, are they going to keep him around? That conversation isn't really being had right now, but it will be had very, very soon. And the key to winning in your Dynasty League is to be out in front of that conversation. Because if you wait too long, people are going to catch on. You're not going to be able to get TP for a decent price. The running back 38 in Dynasty ECR right now. A guy that really went from being a very high-valued player to you know what, we're still going to take a shot at him, to oh my God, what's going to happen with him? And it's Christian Kirk from the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to go get Christian Kirk right now because he's heading into his 4th year in the league. How much longer will he actually be in Arizona? He might not be in that crowded wide receiver room for very much longer. But if he is, that's not that bad of a deal. AJ Green's only on a 1-year deal, right? So throw AJ Green out the door. They don't really use their tight ends, so I'm not really worried about their tight ends. And as far as passing to the running backs go, Kenyon Drake is out of town. Are they really going to utilize that position as a pass-catching position? So Christian Kirk, to me, still has some value. Now, he's not going to have wide receiver 1 value, which he had for a few weeks in 2020. That's not going to happen. I'm not worried about that. But there is going to be some issues trying to find some value outside of DeAndre Hopkins, and where those touches or targets will go other than him. I mean, keep in mind, last year, the dude did show up. He was inactive in week 3. And then in week 4, he came back and he scored a touchdown. But then after that, for 4 weeks, the guy went absolutely ham. He had 78 yards, and then he had 86 and 2 touchdowns, and he had 37 and 2 touchdowns, and he had 123 and a touchdown. So we know that for stints of a season, Christian Kirk has showed up. But again, if we go get him right now, it's with the understanding that A.J. Green is going to be gone after a year. They don't really utilize the tight end. They're not possibly going to utilize the running back and the pass-catching game as well. Or if they do end up keeping him around and he becomes, this part of this high-powered offense along with Rondale Moore and DeAndre Hopkins, that Kyler Murray will more than be able to help take care of. Even if he does stick around, again, he's going to be the wide receiver 2 or 3 without having to worry about those targets going to anybody else other than the 2 wide receivers. And you know what? If he gets out the door and he's gone, that's great for us. Then he goes somewhere, he possibly becomes the number 1 or a really solid number 2. If he's a really solid number 2, that's great. Let's get him back to his 2019 numbers when he had 108 targets, 709 yards, but get him those 2020 touchdowns when he had 6 touchdowns. If we can get him around 700 to 800 yards with 6 touchdowns, he's going to be a guy that we can slot in as a wide receiver 3 most weeks. That's what we're going to get him as. And again, nobody's really talking about him right now because they've signed A.J. Green this offseason. You already have DeAndre Hopkins. They drafted Rondale Moore. No one's talking about Christian Kirk right now. Go get yourself some Christian Kirk, and it's hopefully something that will benefit us in the long run. Now, let's talk about another wide receiver, a guy who last year a lot of people seem to be in love with, and nobody's talking about him this year, and it's Austin Ekeler. Right now, currently the ECR Dynasty running back 18. I mean, in 2019, the guy was coming off a huge career year. I mean, he had 132 carries, 557 yards, 3 touchdowns. Oh, that's great. Not too much to write home about there, but it was the 108 targets, 92 receptions, and 993 receiving yards with 8 receiving touchdowns that made Austin Ekeler an absolute beast. And right now, Ekeler's still 25 years of age. He's going to be turning 26 here very, very soon. He hasn't taken that type of beating that a lot of top-end running backs have had. So he's not a guy that's going to be knocked down very often. But he's a guy right now that you can go grab as maybe that dude. If you are a competing team, if you look at your team and you say, man, I have got a team that could absolutely win it this year, then the Chargers' Austin Ekeler is a guy that 100% could help get you to that next stage. Again, those numbers that we saw from 2019, he didn't come close to them last year, but he dealt with some injuries, and they had one of the worst offensive lines in all of football last year. They bring in Lindsley to play center, one of the best centers in the league, and they draft Rashawn Slater to play left tackle, one of the best tackles in this prospect. It doesn't get too much better than that. And honestly, Austin Ekeler is going to be the lead back this year. I'm not banking on Justin Jackson. I'm not banking on Joshua Kelly. I'm not banking on Larry Roundtree III, who was just drafted in the 6th round. I'm banking on Austin Ekeler. And if you grab him this year and he bounces back and has a great year, and you say to yourself, man, I don't know if I'm a huge Austin Ekeler fan. I mean, I absolutely love what he did for me this year, but I don't know if I really love his long-term outlook. He's not that type of a guy that I really want to have on my team. Then switch him next year. Swap him out next year. Trade him for even more value next year. Right now, he is signed through 2023 at a pretty reasonable cap hit. It doesn't take that much. Now, after the year, there is a $3 million dead cap. They can get out from underneath it. But over the next couple of years, they only owe him $6.5 million and then $7.25 million. The dead cap goes down as well. I mean, they can get out for it in $3 million in 2022 and another $1.5 million in 2023. So again, he's really not that big of a cap hit, and he's only going to be 28 when his contract is up. There's not really any reason to trade him. And we've seen guys that have made a career out of really being that strong pass-catching back. And that's what Austin Ekeler, at worst, if he's fully healthy, will be for an entire 16 games. You've got Keenan Allen there, but Hunter Henry's out the door. So Hunter Henry is gone now. Mike Williams is, he's a guy who's often injured, really that big play guy, but has never put together an entire season where you're like, yeah, this is the guy right here. This is the guy that's going to be on the field all the time. No, he's never been that guy. Outside of that, too, you've got Tyron Johnson, Jalen Guyton, Josh Palmer, who was just drafted in the 3rd round. So, I mean, you've got some pass catchers there, but really, honestly, right now, it's Keenan Allen and then Austin Ekeler. You go buy him right now at a discounted price, and again, you basically have him help you win a fantasy championship this season and then turn around and trade him next year for more than what you gave up this year. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the key to winning Dynasty championships. Again, flowing with what the value is of a player every single season. Moving guys when they're at their highest before you think they're going to lose values, and going and getting guys when their value is really low, like the 4 guys I discussed here. So these are all targets for you. Those of you in Dynasty leagues, try to go get these guys right now. And for those of you that primarily play redraft leagues, you can still go get these guys. Still think about it. Put these guys on your draft board. Think about them. Austin Ekeler is not really going to be a late round guy, but Traequan Smith is a guy that might not even be drafted. Christian Kirk, a guy that might not even be drafted. Okay? Tony Pollard probably will be drafted by the Zeke owner a little bit late, but keep it in mind. Keep these things in mind as you're getting ready for draft season. And for those of you that are looking to make some deals in your Dynasty League, these are all guys that should be at the top of your list. Before you head out of here, hit that like button down below, Headliner Nation. Leave me a comment. If you're in a Dynasty League, let me know who is somebody that you're targeting. And hey, if you're not in a Dynasty League, let me know down below why you haven't tried it out yet. Maybe you can connect with someone here in Headliner Nation that's looking to put a Dynasty League together, and you can get yourself in a sweet league for the 2021 season. And as always, if you're new here to the Fantasy Headliners, then hit that subscribe button and become a part of Headliner Nation today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of here. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, manscape on your own side of the sink, and I'll see you all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.